Marcus Ghost Reyes was cleaning blood off his hands when he saw the locket around the dying girl's neck. His dead wife's locket. The one he'd buried with her 18 years ago. "Where did you get this?" The homeless girl choked on her own breath. Her fingers clawed at his jacket. "Your wife gave it to me. She died 3 months ago, in the facility. She told me to find you." Marcus stopped breathing. "Catherine's dead. She died 18 years ago." "No." The girl's eyes locked onto his. "She was a prisoner. Like me. Like your daughter." "I don't have a daughter." "Yes, you do. You're looking at her." Before we continue, please subscribe to my channel and follow this story to the very end. Comment below which city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. The sound woke Marcus before his eyes opened. It wasn't loud, just a scraping. Metal against concrete, the kind of noise a person makes when they're trying not to make any noise at all. Marcus sat up in the dark, his hand already reaching for the baseball bat beside his bed. 20 years out of the life and old habits still ran through his veins like motor oil. He checked the clock. 3:47 a.m. His boots were on before the next scrape reached his ears. He moved through the back of his garage apartment with the silence of a man who'd learned to walk without sound in places where sound meant death. The noise came again, behind the building, near the dumpsters. Marcus eased open the back door, bat raised, muscles coiled. The Arizona night was cold, the kind of desert cold that bit through leather and settled into bones. He saw her immediately. A shape, huddled against the dumpster. Small, trembling, trying to press herself into the shadows like she could disappear if she just got small enough. "Don't move." His voice came out harder than he intended. The shape flinched violently, and Marcus heard a gasp of pain that made him lower the bat an inch. "Please." The voice was female. Young. Broken. "Please don't call them. Please." Marcus took a step closer, and the security light caught her face. His breath stopped. She couldn't have been more than 20. Dirty. Thin. Her clothes were torn and stained with something dark that Marcus recognized too well. Blood. Her dark hair hung in matted tangles around a face that was all sharp angles and hollow cheeks. But her eyes were what made Marcus's chest tighten, like a fist had closed around his heart. They were the eyes of someone who had seen things no person should ever see. They were the eyes of someone who had stopped hoping a long time ago. They were the eyes of his daughter the last time he'd seen her alive. "I'm not calling anyone," Marcus said, lowering the bat completely. "Can you stand?" The girl didn't answer. She just stared at him with those haunted eyes, her body pressed against the dumpster, like she was waiting for him to hurt her. "I'm not going to hurt you," Marcus said, keeping his voice low and steady. "My name's Marcus. This is my garage. You're bleeding. Let me help." "Why?" The word came out like she didn't understand the concept, like help was a foreign language she'd forgotten how to speak. "Because you're hurt," Marcus said simply. "And because it's cold. And because nobody should be bleeding behind a dumpster at 4 a.m. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Not trust. Trust would take longer than one conversation, but maybe something close to it. Maybe just the absence of fear. "Can you stand?" Marcus asked again. The girl tried. Her legs buckled on the first attempt, and Marcus moved without thinking, catching her before she hit the ground. She weighed nothing. Absolutely nothing. like she was made of paper and shadow. "Easy," he murmured. "I've got you. Easy." He carried her inside. Marcus set her down on the old couch in his living space above the garage, the one his ex-wife had always hated, because it was too worn, too ugly, too him. He grabbed the first aid kit from the bathroom and returned to find the girl exactly where he'd left her sitting, rigid eyes tracking his every movement. "I'm going to look at your arm," he said, kneeling in front of her. "That's where the blood is coming from. Is that okay?" She gave a tiny nod. Marcus peeled back the torn sleeve of her jacket, and his jaw tightened at what he saw. A deep gash ran from her elbow to her wrist. Not a knife wound. Something rougher, like she'd caught herself on jagged metal while running. "This needs stitches," he said. "I should take you to a hospital." "No." The word exploded out of her with more force than Marcus would have thought possible from someone so fragile. "No hospitals, no police, no one. Please." She grabbed his wrist, and Marcus felt her fingers trembling against his skin. "They'll find me," she whispered. "If I go anywhere official, they'll find me. They have people everywhere. Please, please don't make me go." Marcus studied her face. The terror there wasn't the kind you could fake. This wasn't a junkie looking to avoid questions about track marks. This wasn't a runaway with a warrant. This was something else entirely. "Who's they?" he asked quietly. The girl's eyes darted to the window, to the door, back to Marcus. "I can't," she breathed. "I can't tell you. You'll be in danger too." "I've been in danger before." Marcus pulled his sleeve back, revealing the tattoos that covered his forearms. The skull, the wings, the words inked in Gothic script that told anyone who knew how to read them exactly who he used to be. "I rode with the Ironheart MC for 15 years, he said. "President for 5 of those. I've had guns pointed at my face more times than I can count. Whatever you're running from, I'm not going to be scared off." The girl stared at his tattoos, something shifting in her expression. Not fear. Recognition. "Ironheart," she whispered. "Your ghost." Marcus went very still. "How do you know that name? Someone told me to find you." Her voice was barely audible now. "A woman at the facility. She said if I ever got out I should find Ghost Reyes. She said you were the only one who could help." The room seemed to shrink around Marcus. The air grew heavy. "What woman? What facility?" The girl shook her head, tears spilling down her hollow cheeks. "I don't know her name. She died before she could tell me. But she gave me something. She said you'd understand when you saw it." The girl's hand went to her neck, and for the first time, Marcus noticed the chain. Thin. Silver. Almost hidden beneath the collar of her ruined jacket. She pulled out a locket. Marcus's heart stopped. He knew that locket. He knew it like he knew his own hands. He'd bought it 20 years ago at a little antique shop in Flagstaff. He'd had it engraved with 2 letters on the back. C.R. Catherine Reyes. His wife. "Where did you get that?" His voice didn't sound like his own. It sounded like it was coming from somewhere far away, somewhere underwater, somewhere he couldn't quite reach. "The woman gave it to me," the girl said. "She said it was the only thing she had left of the outside world. She said the man who gave it to her never stopped looking for her. She said he'd help me if I could find him." Marcus's hands were shaking as he took the locket from the girl's fingers. He opened it with a thumbnail gone white from pressure. Inside was a photograph. Catherine's face smiled up at him. Young. Beautiful. Alive. The way she'd looked on their wedding day, the way she'd looked the last time he kissed her goodbye. "This is impossible," Marcus breathed. "This is impossible." Catherine died. 18 years ago. Car accident. I buried her. I buried her. The girl was staring at him with something new in her eyes now. Something that looked almost like hope. What was her name? She asked. The woman who owned this locket. You knew her. Marcus couldn't speak. The room was spinning. The walls were closing in. Catherine, he finally managed. Her name was Catherine. She was my wife. The girl's face crumpled. She talked about you, she whispered. Every night. She talked about her husband who rode motorcycles. She talked about how much she loved him. She talked about how she knew he'd never stop looking for her. Looking for her, Marcus's voice cracked. She was dead. She was dead. They showed me the police report. They showed me the death certificate. I couldn't even view the body because... He stopped. The words echoed in his head, the words the funeral director had spoken 18 years ago. The damage from the accident was too severe for an open casket viewing Mr. Reyes. I'm sorry. And closed casket. No body. Just a certificate and a pile of paperwork and a hole in the ground that might have held nothing at all. Oh my God, Marcus breathed. Oh my God. The girl reached out and touched his arm. She didn't die in a car accident, she said softly. She died 3 years ago. In the facility. She was sick, and they wouldn't get her medicine because she was too old to be useful anymore. Marcus looked up at her, tears streaming down his weathered face. Who are you? He asked. Why did she send you to me? Why you... The girl took a shaky breath. My name is Emma, she said. And I was born in that facility. I've never been outside until 3 months ago when I finally escaped. She paused, her eyes holding his. The woman with the locket. Catherine. She was the one who helped me escape. She drew me maps of the outside. She taught me how to read. She taught me everything I know about the world. Why? Marcus's voice was raw. Why would she do that for you? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Because she said I reminded her of someone, she whispered. Someone she lost a long time ago. She never told me who. She just said that helping me was like getting a second chance. Marcus stared at this broken girl, this stranger who carried his dead wife's locket, and felt something he hadn't felt in almost 2 decades. Purpose. You're staying here, he said, his voice steady now, hard with decision. No one's going to find you. No one's going to hurt you. I don't know what's going on yet, but I'm going to find out. Emma's eyes went wide. You don't understand. The people who run the facility, they're powerful. They have connections everywhere. Police, judges, politicians. If they find out you're helping me, let them come. Marcus stood up, and for the first time in years, he felt like Ghost again. Not the tired, broken man who fixed motorcycles in a dusty Arizona town. The man who had led 100 riders through hell and back. I've been waiting for a reason to fight for something again, he said. I've been waiting for a reason to matter. He looked down at the locket in his hand, at Catherine's smiling face. Now I've got one. Morning came with the smell of coffee and the sound of bacon sizzling. Marcus hadn't slept. He'd spent the hours stitching up Emma's arm, forcing food into her reluctant body, and trying to make sense of everything she'd told him. The facility. That was what she called it. A place where women were kept. A place where babies were born and then taken away. A place where the women who were no longer useful simply disappeared. Emma had been born there 20 years ago. She'd been kept instead of sold because of a heart murmur that made her defective merchandise. She'd grown up as a worker, cleaning, cooking, caring for the pregnant women who came and went. She'd never seen the sun until she was 15. She'd never tasted chocolate until she was 18. She'd never known her own mother's name. Coffee. Emma's voice pulled Marcus from his thoughts. She was standing in the kitchen doorway holding 2 mugs, looking slightly less like a ghost than she had the night before. "You shouldn't be up," Marcus said. "You lost a lot of blood." "I've had worse." The casual way she said it made Marcus's stomach turn. "Sit down," he said, taking the mugs from her. "Eat something. We need to talk about what happens next." Emma sank into a chair at the small kitchen table. Marcus slid a plate of eggs and bacon in front of her and watched as she stared at it like she wasn't quite sure what to do. "It's food," he said gently. "You eat it." "I know." A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "It's just a lot. All of this. No one's ever." She couldn't finish the sentence. Instead, she picked up her fork and took a small bite. Tears immediately filled her eyes. "This is what eggs are supposed to taste like," she whispered. "Real eggs, not the powder stuff." Marcus had to look away for a moment. "Emma," he said when he could trust his voice again, "I need you to tell me about the people who ran this facility. Names, locations, anything you can remember." Emma's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "They called the woman in charge the benefactor," she said quietly. "I never saw her face. Only the staff. Only the guards. But I heard things. Names sometimes, when they didn't know I was listening." "What names?" "Cross. There was a man named Cross. He handled security. He was the one who would come when someone needed to. Disappear." Marcus filed the name away. "And the benefactor?" Emma shook her head. "I only heard her voice once, on a phone call. One of the supervisors was talking to her. She sounded cold, like she was discussing inventory instead of people." "Do you know where the facility is? Could you find it again?" "No." Emma's voice was barely audible. "They moved me when I was transported out. They drugged me. I woke up in a van miles from anywhere. All I know is that it took me 3 months to get here. 3 months of walking and hiding and stealing to stay alive." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. "Why here?" he asked. "Why, Dusty Ridge, Arizona's a big state. Catherine could have told you to go anywhere." "She didn't tell me where to find you," Emma said. "She just told me the name. Ghost Reyes, Ironheart MC. She said you'd be in the place where you lost everything. She said you'd never leave." Marcus's throat tightened. Catherine had known. Even after all those years in captivity, Catherine had known that Marcus would never leave the last place they'd been together. She'd known him better than he'd known himself. "There's something else," Emma said, her voice hesitant now. "Something I found, in the benefactor's office, before I escaped." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper creased and worn from 3 months of running. "I couldn't read all of it," she said. "The words were too complicated, but I understood enough to know it was important." Marcus took the paper and unfolded it. It was a list. Names, dates, numbers, and at the top of the page, a logo that made his blood run cold. Ashworth Foundation. "You're sure about this?" Pastor Daniel sat across from Marcus in the tiny office behind the church, the paper lying between them like a bomb waiting to explode. "I'm sure," Marcus said. "That's the Ashworth logo. Victoria Ashworth. Runs half the charities in the state. Sits on every board that matters. Woman of the Year 3 times running." "And you think she's involved in what exactly?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Human trafficking. That's what Emma described. Women held against their will. Babies sold to wealthy buyers. The ones who can't be sold are kept as slaves. The ones who stop being useful are killed." Pastor Daniel's face had gone gray. "Marcus, this is an accusation against one of the most powerful women in Arizona. Without proof, Catherine is proof." The words came out hard, jagged. "My wife didn't die in a car accident, Daniel. She was taken. She was held in that place for 15 years. She died there sick and alone while I was out here believing she was in the ground. Pastor Daniel closed his eyes. Marcus, someone faked that accident. Someone created those documents. Someone buried an empty coffin while Catherine was locked up somewhere praying I'd find her. Marcus's voice broke. I didn't find her. I gave up. I stopped looking. You didn't know. I should have known. Marcus slammed his fist on the desk, making the paper jump. It never felt right. The closed casket. The way the police closed the investigation so fast. I knew something was wrong and I let them convince me I was just grieving. Pastor Daniel reached across and gripped Marcus's shoulder. What happened to Catherine is not your fault. What matters now is what you do next. Marcus looked up, his eyes wet but burning. I'm going to tear down everything Victoria Ashworth has built. I'm going to expose every person who helped her. I'm going to get justice for Catherine and for every woman who suffered in that place. And Emma, Marcus's expression softened. Emma stays with me, no matter what happens. She was the last person to see Catherine alive. She carried Catherine's hope out of that place when she escaped. I owe her everything. Pastor Daniel studied his old friend's face. You know this is going to be dangerous. Victoria Ashworth didn't build an empire by letting people threaten her. I know. You might not survive it. Marcus smiled, and for a moment Pastor Daniel saw the ghost of the young man he'd met 20 years ago. The rebel, the fighter, the man who'd ridden into hell with his brothers at his back. Then I'll die doing something that matters, Marcus said. That's more than I could have said yesterday. The black SUV appeared for the first time that afternoon. Marcus spotted it through the garage window. Tinted windows. Government plates. Parked across the street like it belonged there. It didn't. He kept working on the Harley in front of him, but his eyes never left that vehicle. An hour later, it was still there. 2 hours. Still there. Emma came down from the apartment around 3, looking for something to eat. Marcus intercepted her before she could reach the front windows. Stay in the back, he said quietly. We've got company. Emma's face went pale. They found me. Not necessarily. Could be coincidence. Could be someone casing the place for a robbery. It's not coincidence. Emma's voice was shaking. They have a way of finding people. Trackers. Contacts. I don't know how they do it, but they always find people. Marcus pulled her gently toward the back room. Upstairs. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. I'll come get you when it's clear. Marcus, go. Emma went. Marcus waited until he heard the lock click, then walked slowly to the front of the garage. He picked up a wrench, hefting it in his hand like a weapon. The SUV's door opened. A man stepped out, tall, broad, wearing a suit that cost more than Marcus's truck. His face was hard, his eyes harder. He walked across the street like he owned it. Marcus met him at the garage entrance. Help you with something. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Marcus Reyes. They call you Ghost, don't they? Some people used to. That was a long time ago. Indeed. The man reached into his jacket, and Marcus's grip tightened on the wrench. But all he pulled out was a business card. My name is Raymond Cross. I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a missing person. Cross. The name Emma had mentioned. The man who made people disappear. Marcus kept his face neutral. Missing person, huh? Not sure how I can help with that. I just fix bikes. Of course. Cross's smile never wavered. But you see, Mr. Reyes, the person I'm looking for was last seen heading in this direction. A young woman, early 20s. Dark hair, very thin. He paused. She's mentally unstable, I'm afraid. A danger to herself and others. Her family is desperate to find her before she hurts someone. Sounds serious. It is. Cross leaned closer. She may have told you things. Stories. Please understand that none of them are true. She suffers from delusions, paranoid fantasies. Whatever she's said, it's the product of a very sick mind. Marcus met his eyes. Haven't seen anyone matching that description. Sorry. Cross held his gaze for a long moment. Are you certain, Mr. Reyes, I'd hate for there to be any misunderstanding? People who harbor fugitives sometimes find themselves in very difficult situations. Is that a threat? Cross's smile widened. It's an observation. Have a good day, Mr. Reyes. I'm sure I'll see you again. He turned and walked back to the SUV. Marcus watched him go, the wrench still tight in his hand. The SUV pulled away. But Marcus knew it would be back. They always came back. We need to move. Marcus was pacing the small apartment, his phone pressed to his ear. On the other end of the line, a gruff voice responded with familiar irritation. Brother, slow down. What the hell are you talking about? Demon, I need your help. Marcus stopped pacing, forcing himself to take a breath. I've got a situation. A girl. Someone's trying to hurt her. I can't explain everything right now, but I need backup. Silence on the line. Then, you said you were done with the life. I am. This isn't club business. This is personal. Personal how? Marcus closed his eyes. Catherine didn't die in that accident. She was taken, kept prisoner for 18 years. This girl was with her when she really died. The silence stretched longer this time. Brother, Demon's voice had lost its irritation. Now it was soft, careful. You sure about this? You sure you're not seeing what you want to see? I'm holding her locket in my hand right now, the one I gave her on our wedding day, the one I thought was in the coffin with her. Jesus. I need you, Demon. I need the brothers. Someone powerful is behind this, and they just sent a man to my garage to threaten me. Who? Victoria Ashworth. Demon swore loudly. The billionaire, the one who does all those charity galas, you're saying she's dirty. I'm saying she runs a human trafficking operation that's been going for at least 20 years. I'm saying my wife spent 15 years in one of her facilities. I'm saying there's a 20-year-old girl upstairs who was born in captivity and has never known a day of freedom in her life. And you want to take her down. I want to burn her world to the ground. Another pause. Then Demon laughed low and dangerous. Well, damn, Ghost. When you come out of retirement, you don't mess around. Can I count on you? Brother, you didn't even have to ask. Give me 2 hours. I'll round up whoever's close. We'll be there by nightfall. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're about to go to war with the most powerful woman in Arizona. Thank me if we survive. The line went dead. Marcus lowered the phone and turned to find Emma standing in the doorway, her face pale. War, she repeated quietly. You're really going to fight them? Marcus crossed to her and put his hands on her shoulders. I'm going to protect you, he said firmly. Whatever it takes. That's a promise. Emma's eyes searched his face. Why? She asked. You don't know me. You just met me. Why would you risk everything for a stranger? Marcus looked at the locket still hanging around her neck. Because you're not a stranger, he said. You're the last piece of Catherine I have left, and I'm not going to lose you too. Emma's face crumbled, and for the first time since he'd found her, she let herself cry. Really cry. Not the silent tears of someone who's learned to suffer quietly, but the heaving sobs of someone who's finally found a safe place to break down. Marcus held her. Through the window he could see the sun beginning to set over the Arizona desert. By morning, everything would be different. He just didn't know how much. The sound of motorcycles rolled into Dusty Ridge just after dark. 12 of them. Harleys, mostly with a few custom builds mixed in. They rumbled down Main Street like thunderchrome flashing under the streetlights, drawing stares from everyone they passed. Marcus was waiting in front of the garage when they pulled up. Demon came first. Tall, broad, with a beard that reached his chest and arms covered in more ink than skin. He killed his engine and swung off his bike in one smooth motion. Ghost! He gripped Marcus's forearm in the old way. Been too long, brother. Too long, Marcus agreed. Thanks for coming. The others were dismounting now, faces Marcus hadn't seen in years. Some he'd ridden with for decades. Some he'd trusted with his life more times than he could count. Blade, Tank, Prophet, Wraith. Names that meant nothing to civilians, but everything to those who'd earned them. Where's the girl? Demon asked. Upstairs. She's scared. She should be. Cross isn't the type to give up easy. Marcus's eyes narrowed. You know him? Demon's face darkened. Raymond Cross. Used to work for the feds. Got pushed out for excessive force. Now he does private security for people who can afford to make problems go away permanently. He showed up here this afternoon. Threatened me. Of course he did. That's what he does. He threatens first. If that doesn't work. Demon drew a finger across his throat. Then we don't let it get that far. Marcus led them into the garage where he'd set up chairs and cleared space for planning. One by one the brothers filed in, settling into seats with the casual ease of men who'd held councils like this 100 times before. All right, Demon said once everyone was seated. Ghost, lay it out. What are we dealing with? Marcus took a breath and began. He told them everything. Catherine, the fake accident, the 18 years of captivity, Emma's escape, the locket, the list with the Ashworth logo, Cross's visit, all of it. When he finished, silence hung heavy in the room. Then Tank spoke, his voice low and dangerous. You're telling me Victoria Ashworth, the saint of Arizona, runs a slavery ring? That's what I'm telling you. And the cops bought, at least some of them. Emma says Cross has contacts everywhere. Blade leaned forward. So we can't trust law enforcement. We can't trust the courts. We can't trust anyone with a badge. That's right. Then what's the play? Marcus looked around the room at the faces of his brothers. We gather evidence. We find other survivors. We build a case so airtight that even Victoria's money can't bury it. And we keep Emma safe while we do it. And if they come for us before we're ready? Marcus's jaw set. Then we fight. Demon smiled. Now that's the ghost I remember. Emma appeared in the doorway 2 hours later, drawn down by the smell of coffee and the sound of voices. The brothers fell silent when they saw her. She froze, eyes darting from face to face. 12 hardened bikers staring at her like she was something they couldn't quite understand. Marcus rose and went to her. It's okay, he said quietly. They're friends. They're here to help. Emma's gaze lingered on the leather cuts, the tattoos, the scars. They look scary. Demon laughed, a big booming sound that made Emma jump. That's the idea, sweetheart. We look scary so the bad people don't mess with us. He stood and crossed to her, extending one massive hand. Name's Demon. Don't let it worry you. I got it from my temper, not my soul. Emma hesitated, then placed her small hand in his. Emma, she said softly. Thank you for coming. Don't thank us yet. Ghost says there's a fight coming. We're just here to make sure the right side wins. Emma looked at Marcus. He keeps saying that, she said, that there's a fight. But I don't understand. Why would you all fight for me? You don't even know me. Wraith spoke up from his seat, his voice raspy from years of smoking. "You're wrong about that kid. We know plenty." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" "Ghost told us about your lady, Catherine." Wraith's eyes were soft, despite his hard face. "She was one of ours, Ghost's old lady. That makes her family. And family looks after family even when they're gone." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "She talked about you," she whispered. "All of you. She called you her brothers." The room went very still. "She remembered us." Tank's voice was thick. "She remembered everything." Emma looked around the room, seeing each man in turn. "She used to tell me stories about riding through the desert at sunset, about campfires and barbecues and birthday parties. She said those were the happiest years of her life." Demon turned away, but not before Marcus saw him brush at his eyes. 18 years, he muttered. "She was locked up for 18 years and she still remembered us." "She never forgot," Emma said. "She never stopped believing that Ghost would find her. Even at the end, even when she was so sick she couldn't stand, she kept saying he was coming, that he'd save her." Marcus's voice cracked. "I didn't save her. I wasn't there." Emma crossed to him and took his weathered hand in hers. "You're here now," she said. "That's what matters. She sent me to find you because she knew you'd do what she couldn't. She knew you'd finish this." Marcus looked down at this fragile girl who'd carried his wife's hope across 3 months of highway and heartbreak. "I will," he said. "I promise. Whatever it takes." Demon cleared his throat. "Well then, I guess we better get started." He turned to the brothers, his voice commanding again. "Prophet, I want you running surveillance on Ashworth. Find out where she goes, who she meets, what her patterns are. Blade Tank, I want you digging into Cross. Background associates' weak points. Everyone else were on protection detail. Ghost and the girl don't go anywhere without an escort." The brothers nodded, already rising to their tasks. As the room emptied, Emma tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "There's something else," she said quietly. "Something I haven't told you." Marcus turned to face her. "What is it?" Emma's face was pale, her eyes haunted. "The woman, Catherine, before she died. She told me something, a secret she said she'd kept for 20 years. Marcus's heart began to pound. "What secret?" Emma took a shaky breath. "She told me she was pregnant when they took her, 8 weeks pregnant. The baby was born in the facility." The room seemed to tilt. "What happened to the baby?" Marcus's voice was barely audible. Emma's eyes met his. "That's what she wouldn't tell me. She said it wasn't safe. She said the truth could get us both killed." She paused. "But she said you'd figure it out. She said you'd know what to do when you saw it." "Saw what?" Emma reached up and pulled off the locket. "She said to show you the back." Marcus took the locket with trembling hands. He turned it over. There, beneath the initials CR, were 2 more letters he'd never seen before. ER Emma Reyes. Marcus looked up at the girl standing before him. The girl with Catherine's eyes. The girl who was born in captivity 20 years ago. The girl who'd been kept instead of sold because of a heart murmur. "Oh my God," he breathed. His daughter. Emma was his daughter. Marcus couldn't breathe. The locket hung from his fingers, the initials ER, burning into his vision like a brand. He looked at Emma, really looked at her, and saw what he should have seen the moment she stepped into the light. Catherine's cheekbones. Catherine's chin. The way her eyebrows drew together when she was confused, exactly the way Catherine's always had. "Marcus!" Emma's voice seemed to come from very far away. What does it mean? What did she want you to see? His legs gave out. Marcus sat down hard on the nearest chair, still clutching the locket, still staring at the girl who had his wife's face and his mother's dark hair and 20 years of stolen life written in the hollows of her cheeks. Ghost! Demon was at his side instantly. Brother, you okay? You look like you've seen a... She's mine. The words came out, broken. Shattered. What? Emma... Marcus looked up at Demon with tears streaming down his face. She's my daughter. Catherine was pregnant when they took her. 8 weeks. I didn't know. I never knew. The room went silent. Emma stood frozen, her face pale as paper. That's not possible, she whispered. I don't have a father. I never had a father. The facility. They told me I was born from a surrogate. They said my mother didn't want me. They said they lied. Marcus rose on unsteady legs and crossed to her. He took her hands in his, feeling them tremble like frightened birds. They lied about everything, Emma. Your mother was Catherine Reyes, my wife. She was taken from me 18 years ago, and I thought she was dead. I thought I buried her. Emma was shaking her head, backing away. No, this is too much. This doesn't make sense. If you were my father, she would have told me. She would have said something. Would she? Marcus's voice cracked. If she thought it would put you in danger, if she thought the people running that place would use you against me or me against you. Emma's back hit the wall. Her breathing was coming fast and shallow. I can't process this. I spent 20 years in that place. 20 years being told I was worthless, that nobody wanted me, that I was a mistake they couldn't sell. And now you're telling me I had a father this whole time, a father who was looking for me. I wasn't looking for you. The admission tore out of Marcus like a confession. I didn't know you existed, but I would have been. Emma, if I had known, if I had even suspected, I would have torn the world apart to find you. Emma's face crumpled. How can you be sure? She whispered. How can you be sure I'm really yours? Marcus touched her face gently, tilting her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. Because I see her when I look at you, he said. I see Catherine in every line of your face. I see my mother in the color of your hair. And I see myself in the stubbornness that kept you alive long enough to escape that place. Emma's tears spilled over. I don't know how to have a father, she breathed. I don't know how to be someone's daughter. I don't know how to be anything except scared. Marcus pulled her into his arms. Then we'll figure it out together, he said, his voice rough with emotion. I've missed 20 years. I'm not missing another day. Emma clung to him like she was drowning, and he was the only solid thing in an ocean of chaos. Behind them, Demon quietly motioned the other brothers toward the door. Let's give them a minute, he murmured. We've got work to do anyway. The room emptied. Father and daughter held each other in the silence. 20 years of grief and 20 years of suffering finally meeting in the space between heartbeats. The morning brought complications. Marcus was on the phone with Pastor Daniel when Blade burst through the garage door, his face tight with urgency. We've got movement. Marcus ended the call without saying goodbye. What kind of movement? Prophet's been watching the Ashworth estate since dawn. 3 SUVs just left the property, different directions, professional search pattern. Marcus's jaw clenched. They're hunting. Gets worse. Blade pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a photo. Prophet got this through the gate. Recognize anyone? Marcus looked at the image and felt his blood run cold. Raymond Cross stood on the steps of the Ashworth mansion, shaking hands with a woman in a white suit. Victoria Ashworth herself. He's reporting directly to her, Marcus said. Looks like it. Ghost, we need to move. If they're running a search grid, they'll find us eventually. This garage isn't exactly hidden. Marcus thought fast. Where's Emma? Upstairs, still sleeping. Wake her. Pack light. We need to be mobile by noon. Blade nodded and disappeared up the stairs. Marcus grabbed his own bag from the closet, stuffing in essentials, with the efficiency of a man who'd packed to run more times than he could count. Clothes. Cash. The Glock he kept in his nightstand. The documents he'd need if things went sideways. The locket went around his own neck, close to his heart where it belonged. He was zipping the bag when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus hesitated, then answered. Mr. Reyes, Cross's voice oozed through the speaker like oil. I hope I'm not disturbing you. What do you want? A conversation, face to face, neutral ground. There's a diner on Route 66, about 20 miles outside town. You know the one. Marcus knew it. He'd eaten there with Catherine a lifetime ago. Why would I meet you anywhere? Because I have information you want. About the facility. About what really happened to your wife. About the daughter you didn't know existed. Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. I know everything I need to know. Do you? Cross's voice dropped lower. Do you know that Emma isn't the only child born in that facility who survived? Do you know that there are at least a dozen others out there scattered across the country, living lies they don't even know are lies? Silence. I thought that might interest you. Cross's smile was audible. The diner. 1 hour. Come alone, or don't come at all. Your choice. The line went dead. Marcus stood motionless, the phone still pressed to his ear. Other children. Other survivors. If Cross was telling the truth, this was bigger than just Emma. Bigger than Catherine. Bigger than anything he'd imagined. And if Cross was lying, it was a trap. Either way, he had to know. You're not going. Emma stood in front of the door, her arms crossed, her jaw set, with a stubbornness that Marcus recognized from his own mirror. I have to. He's going to kill you. He might try. This isn't a joke. Emma's voice rose. I've seen what Cross does to people. I've seen bodies carried out of the facility in the middle of the night. People who asked too many questions. People who tried to run. He doesn't negotiate. He eliminates. Then why set up a meeting? Emma hesitated. What? If he just wanted me dead, he wouldn't bother with phone calls and diners. He would have hit us last night while we were sleeping. He wants something else. Like what? I don't know. That's why I'm going. Emma grabbed his arm. Take me with you. Absolutely not. I'm not a child, Marcus. I survived 20 years in that place. I escaped when no one else could. I can handle, you're my daughter. The words hung between them. Emma's face softened. You just found out I exist. You're not going to let anything happen to me. But don't you understand, I just found out you exist too. I'm not going to lose you before I even get to know you. Marcus cupped her face in his hands. You're not going to lose me. I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. I've never broken a promise in my life. He kissed her forehead gently. Stay with Demon. Stay hidden. If I'm not back in 3 hours, you run. You take whatever cash is in my desk, you get on a bus, and you disappear. Marcus, promise me. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I promise. Marcus pulled her into one last hug, breathing in the scent of the cheap shampoo she'd used that morning. His daughter. His blood. His second chance. Then he let go and walked out the door. The diner sat alone on a stretch of cracked asphalt, its neon sign flickering in the afternoon heat. Marcus pulled his bike into the parking lot and killed the engine, scanning the area for threats. 2 other vehicles, a pickup truck with Arizona plates, a black sedan that screamed government issue. Cross's ride. Marcus walked inside. The diner was nearly empty. A couple of truckers at the counter, an old woman nursing coffee in a corner booth, and at the back table facing the door, like a man who always wanted to see who was coming, sat Raymond Cross. He smiled when Marcus approached. "Ghost, thank you for coming." "Skip the pleasantries." Marcus slid into the booth across from him. "You said you had information. Talk." Cross leaned back, studying Marcus with cold, calculating eyes. "You're angry. Understandable. Your whole world just got turned upside down. Wife wasn't dead. Daughter you never knew. 20 years of lies finally exposed." "I said talk." "I am talking," Cross signaled this waitress. "Coffee, please, black, and whatever my friend here is having." "I'm not having anything. Suit yourself." Cross waited until the waitress was out of earshot. "Let me ask you something, Marcus. What do you think is going to happen when you go to war with Victoria Ashworth?" "I think she's going to prison." Cross laughed. "Prison? That's charming. You really think the legal system is equipped to handle someone like Victoria? She's donated millions to every judge in the state. She's personally funded the campaigns of half the legislature. She has governors on speed dial and senators at her Christmas parties. I don't care how connected she is. What she's doing is evil." "Yes. Monstrous, absolutely. Profitable, more than you can imagine." Cross's voice dropped. "The Ashworth operation generates approximately $70 million a year. That's 70 million reasons for very powerful people to make sure it continues." Marcus's stomach turned. His stomach. "You're telling me people know government officials, law enforcement, they know what she's doing and they just let it happen?" "Some know, some suspect. Most choose not to look too closely because the alternative is uncomfortable." Cross sipped his coffee. "But here's what you don't understand, Marcus. Victoria isn't the top of the pyramid. She's not even close." "What do you mean?" Cross glanced around the diner, then leaned closer. "Victoria runs the Arizona operation, one of 12 across the country. She reports to someone. They all report to someone. Someone much more powerful, much more hidden, much more dangerous than a billionaire socialite." "Who?" Cross shook his head. "That's not information I give away for free." "Then what do you want?" Cross set down his coffee cup and met Marcus's eyes directly. "I want out." Marcus stared at him. "You expect me to believe that—" "I don't expect you to believe anything, but it's the truth." Cross's jaw tightened. "I've done things for Victoria Ashworth that I can never take back. I've made people disappear. I've covered up crimes that would make you physically ill. And for years I told myself it was just a job. Just business." "What changed?" Cross was quiet for a long moment. "Last year, Victoria asked me to handle a situation at the Arizona facility. A pregnant woman who was becoming a problem, asking too many questions, trying to organize the other captives." Marcus felt ice form in his chest. "Catherine. I didn't know her name then. I didn't want to know. But when I got there, when I saw her..." Cross's voice faltered. "She was dying. The illness had already taken too much. But she looked at me and she said, 'I forgive you.'" Marcus's hands curled into fists. "She forgave you. A woman I was sent to silence forgave me while she was dying." Cross's composure cracked for the first time. "I've killed men without losing sleep. But that woman, your wife, she broke something in me that I didn't even know was still there." "So you're having a crisis of conscience. Why should I care?" "Because I can give you everything." Cross reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. Names, dates, transactions. Every baby sold through the Arizona operation for the past 20 years. Every wealthy buyer. Every politician who looked the other way. Every cop who took a paycheck to stay quiet. Marcus stared at the flash drive like it was a bomb. Why give this to me? Because Victoria's getting suspicious. She knows something's wrong. She's started looking at everyone in her organization, including me. It's only a matter of time before she decides I'm a liability. And you think I can protect you? Cross laughed bitterly. I don't think anyone can protect me, but I can make sure she burns when I go down. He pushed the flash drive across the table. Your daughter is on here. Her birth records, her sale papers before they decided to keep her. Sale papers. Marcus's voice was barely human. She was supposed to be bought by a couple in Seattle. $300,000. But the heart murmur showed up on the prenatal screening and they backed out. Damaged goods, they said. So Victoria kept her as labor instead. Marcus grabbed the flash drive, his whole body shaking with rage. You piece of... I know what I am. Cross held up his hands. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for friendship. I'm asking for a deal. You take that information and you use it to bring Victoria down. In exchange, you let me disappear. That's not enough. Cross frowned. What do you want? Marcus leaned across the table, his eyes burning. The other children, the ones you said survived. Where are they? I don't know all of them, but I know 3. Their names, their locations, the families who bought them. You're going to help me find them. That wasn't part of... It's part of it now. Marcus's voice was steel. You want a deal, that's the deal. You help me find every child who was stolen by this operation, and you testify against Victoria when the time comes. Otherwise, I take this flash drive to the FBI, and I tell them exactly where to find you. Cross studied him for a long moment. You'd be throwing away the best evidence you have. I'd be throwing away evidence provided by a mass murderer. The feds might listen anyway, especially if I point them toward the bodies. You don't know where the bodies are. Neither does Victoria, but I bet she'd panic if she thought I did. Marcus smiled coldly. I've been playing these games for 30 years. Don't mistake me for an amateur. Cross was silent. Then slowly he nodded. All right, we have a deal. He extended his hand. Marcus looked at it with disgust. I'm not shaking your hand. Give me the names of the children and we'll go from there. Cross withdrew his hand, his expression unreadable. There's a girl in San Diego, bought 17 years ago by a tech executive. Her name is Sarah Chen now, but her birth name was Rachel. There's a boy in Denver, 15 years old, adopted by a politician. His file is on the drive. And the third, Cross hesitated. The third is complicated. Uncomplicated. She's here, in Arizona, living about 40 miles from where we're sitting. Marcus's heart stopped. Who bought her? Cross met his eyes. Nobody bought her. She was kept like Emma. Raised in the facility until she was 12, then placed as a domestic worker with one of Victoria's associates. She's 22 now. Works as a maid in a mansion she doesn't know she was born in. Which mansion? Cross smiled grimly. The Ashworth estate. Marcus rode back to the garage with his mind on fire. A girl in Victoria's own house, living as a servant in the home of the woman who had stolen her life. Cleaning the floors of her prison without knowing the bars were invisible. He had to get her out. But first, he had to deal with Emma. She was waiting when he pulled in, her face tight with worry that melted into relief when she saw him alive. You came back. I told you I would. What happened? What did he want? Marcus led her inside, where Demon and the brothers were gathered around a table covered in maps and photographs. "We have a problem," Marcus said. "And an opportunity." He told them everything. The flash drive, Cross's defection, the other children, the girl in Victoria's mansion. When he finished, Demon let out a low whistle. "You trust him, Cross?" "I don't trust anyone, but the information on this drive is real. I already checked the first few files. Bank records, property transfers, it's all there." "So what's the play?" Marcus looked at Emma. "There's a girl at the Ashworth estate. Same age as you. Same story. She doesn't know what she is or where she came from. We need to get her out before Victoria realizes Cross has turned." Emma's eyes went wide. "You want to break into Victoria Ashworth's mansion?" "I want to rescue another victim, just like someone rescued you." "Nobody rescued me, I rescued myself." "Then help someone else do the same." Emma was quiet for a moment. "What's her name, the girl at the mansion?" Marcus checked the file Cross had given him. "Lily," he said. "Her name is Lily." Emma's face changed. "Lily," she repeated softly. "I knew a Lily, at the facility. She was a few years older than me. She used to sneak me extra food when the supervisors weren't looking." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Emma, they took her away when I was 12. They said she was being transferred. I never saw her again." She looked up at Marcus with tears in her eyes. "If it's the same Lily, if she's been there this whole time—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed Demon's number. "Change of plans," he said. "We're moving tonight." The Ashworth estate sat behind 12-foot walls and enough security to guard a small country. Prophet had spent the last 6 hours mapping every camera angle, every patrol route, every blind spot in the system. There weren't many blind spots. "She's got ex-military running her perimeter," Prophet said, spreading photographs across the table. 2-man teams rotating every 4 hours, motion sensors on the walls, thermal cameras covering the main approaches. Demon studied the images with narrowed eyes. "What about the house itself? Private security inside, armed, background checks that would make the Secret Service jealous." Prophet tapped one photo showing a young woman in a maid's uniform. "That's her, Lily. She lives in the servants' quarters on the east wing. Shares a room with 2 other housekeepers." Marcus stared at the photo. Lily looked tired, beaten down. Her eyes had the same hollow quality he'd seen in Emma's when he first found her. "How do we get to her?" he asked. "That's the problem. The servants' quarters are in the most heavily monitored section of the property. Victoria doesn't trust the help." "Wonder why?" Blade muttered. Emma leaned forward, her finger tracing the layout Prophet had sketched. "What about here? This building behind the main house. Pool house, used for storage mostly." "No cameras?" Prophet checked his notes. "One. Facing the pool. Nothing on the backside." "That's our way in." Emma's voice was steady, but Marcus could see her hands trembling. "The servants take out trash through the service entrance every night at 10. I know because that was my job at the facility. Same routine. Same timing. They don't want garbage interfering with the family's schedule." Marcus shook his head. "You're not going in." "I'm the only one who can." "Emma, think about it." She met his eyes with fierce determination. "Lily doesn't know you. She doesn't know any of you. If a bunch of bikers show up and try to drag her out, she's going to scream. She's going to fight. She's been trained to think the outside world is dangerous. And you think she'll trust you? I think she'll recognize me." Emma's voice cracked. "We grew up together, Marcus. She taught me how to braid hair. She held me when I cried after the supervisors. If there's anyone in the world she might listen to, it's me. The room fell silent. Demon cleared his throat. She's got a point, Ghost. I know she does. That's what scares me. Marcus turned to his daughter, searching her face for any sign of doubt. If this goes wrong, it won't. If it does, you run. You don't look back. You don't try to save anyone else, you just run, understand? Emma reached out and squeezed his hand. I understand. She didn't promise. Marcus noticed, but he didn't push. Some promises were too important to make. They moved at 9:47 p.m. 3 bikes dropped Marcus, Emma, and Blade half a mile from the estate. They'd approach on foot, while the others held position at extraction points around the perimeter. The night was cold, clear, the kind of night where sounds carried too far and mistakes echoed. Emma walked between Marcus and Blade, wearing dark clothes borrowed from one of the brothers' wives. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her face was pale, but focused. Nervous? Blade asked quietly. Terrified. Good. Scared people stay sharp. They reached the wall at 10:02. Marcus boosted Emma up first, then Blade. He pulled himself over, last landing in a crouch on the other side. The pool house was 30 yards ahead. Cameras, Marcus whispered. Blade checked his phone where Prophet was feeding him real-time security data. Clear for the next 90 seconds. Go. They moved fast and low, reaching the back of the pool house just as a light swept across the grounds behind them. Patrol, Blade breathed. They pressed against the wall, barely breathing. The light passed. Marcus exhaled. Service entrance is around the east wing, Emma said. I'll go alone from here. Like hell you will. Marcus. She gripped his arm. You're 6'3" and covered in tattoos. You'll scare her. Let me do this. Every instinct Marcus had screamed against it. 20 years of not knowing his daughter existed, and now he was supposed to let her walk into danger alone. But she was right. He knew she was right. 10 minutes, he said. If you're not back in 10 minutes, I'm coming in after you. 15. 12. Emma almost smiled. Okay, 12. She turned and disappeared into the shadows. Marcus watched her go, with his heart in his throat. Emma found the service entrance exactly where she expected it. A metal door with a dim bulb above it, propped open with a brick while someone took a smoke break. She slipped inside. The hallway smelled like industrial cleaner and leftover food. Staff quarters. She knew the smell. She'd lived in places that smelled exactly like this for 20 years. A door opened ahead of her. Emma pressed herself against the wall. A woman walked past carrying a stack of linens. She didn't look up. Didn't notice the stranger in the shadows. Emma waited until the footsteps faded, then continued. Room 114. That's what Prophet had said. Lily was in room 114. She found it at the end of the hall. The door was closed. Emma raised her hand to knock, then hesitated. What if Lily didn't remember her? What if 20 years had changed her too much? What if she screamed and brought the whole security team running? Emma closed her eyes. She thought about Catherine, about the woman who had saved her life, who had given her hope, who had died believing that Marcus would come. She thought about Marcus, about the father she'd just found, about the promise she hadn't made. She knocked. Silence. Then footsteps. The door opened a crack, and a face appeared. Tired eyes, hollow cheeks, hair pulled back in a practical bun. Emma's breath caught. Lily, the woman frowned. Do I know you? It's me. Emma's voice trembled. It's Emma. From the facility. You used to sneak me food when the supervisors weren't looking. You taught me how to braid hair. You called me Little Bird because I was always trying to climb things. Lily's face went white. That's not possible. Emma was. They said Emma died. They said she tried to escape and they lied. Emma grabbed Lily's hand. They lie about everything. I got out 3 months ago, and I came to find you. Lily was shaking. How did you know I was here? It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're leaving. Tonight. Right now. I can't. Mrs. Ashworth. She'll know. She has people everywhere. I know. That's why we have to go now before she realizes. Lily pulled her hand back. You don't understand. This is all I've ever known. Out there I don't. I don't have anything. I don't have anyone. You have me. Emma's eyes filled with tears. You have me, and you have a whole group of people waiting outside who want to help you. Please, Lily. Please trust me. Lily stared at her. Why would anyone want to help me? Because you matter. Because what happened to us was wrong. Because there are still good people in this world, and some of them are outside this wall right now, risking everything to give you a choice. A choice. Stay here and spend the rest of your life as a slave. Or come with me and find out what freedom feels like. The silence stretched. Then Lily straightened. I don't have anything to pack. You don't need anything. Lily looked back at the small room that had been her prison for 10 years. Okay, she whispered. Okay, let's go. They were almost to the service entrance when the lights went on. Marcus saw the floodlights and knew something had gone wrong. Blade. I see it. The estate was lighting up section by section. Alarms began to wail. Through the radio in his ear, Marcus heard Prophet's urgent voice. They've triggered the security system. Someone saw something. You need to get out now. Emma's still inside. Ghost, I'm not leaving without her. Marcus was already moving toward the main house when the service door burst open. Emma and Lily came running out, but they weren't alone. 2 security guards were right behind them. Marcus didn't think. He just acted. He hit the first guard with a shoulder tackle that sent him sprawling. Blade took out the second with a blow to the back of the head. Run! Marcus shouted. The wall! Go! Emma grabbed Lily's hand and sprinted toward the extraction point. Marcus and Blade covered their retreat, moving backward, watching for more guards. They came. 5 of them. Armed. Shouting into radios. Go, Blade said. I'll hold them. We're not splitting up. You've got a daughter to protect. I've got a good 30 seconds before they catch up. Use them. Marcus hesitated for 1 agonizing second. Then he ran. Behind him, he heard Blade's voice rising in challenge, drawing the guards away. Marcus reached the wall just as Emma and Lily were pulling themselves over. He boosted them up, then scrambled after them. They hit the ground on the other side and kept running. The bikes were waiting. Prophet's voice crackled in Marcus's ear. Blade's down. They've got him. Marcus's blood went cold. Where? Main courtyard. They're loading him into a vehicle. Emma grabbed Marcus's arm. We have to help him. We will. But not tonight. Marcus forced the words out, even though they tasted like betrayal. Tonight we disappear. Tomorrow we figure out how to get him back. But if we go back now, we all die. Including Lily. Including you. Marcus's voice cracked. Blade knew the risks. He made his choice. We honor that choice by surviving. Emma's face crumpled, but she didn't argue. They got on the bikes. They rode into the darkness. Behind them, the Ashworth estate blazed with light and fury. Cross found them at the safe house just before dawn. Marcus had his gun out before the car even stopped moving, but Cross came out with his hands raised. "Easy. I'm here to help. Your help got my brother captured." "That wasn't me. Someone else tipped off Victoria's security." Cross's face was taut with something that might have been genuine fear. "She knows, Marcus. She knows I've turned. I've got maybe 12 hours before she finds me." "That's your problem." "It's your problem too." Cross lowered his hands slowly. "Because she also knows about Emma. And she's not going to stop until she has her back." Marcus felt Emma tense beside him. "Back," she whispered. "What do you mean back?" Cross looked at her with something like pity. "You were always her favorite project, Emma. The heart murmur baby who wasn't supposed to survive. She kept you as, what did she call it? A reminder of her own resilience." "That doesn't make any sense." "It does if you understand Victoria." And Cross took a breath. "The Ashworth operation isn't just about money. It's about power. Control. The feeling of playing God with other people's lives." Marcus stepped forward. "You said you had information. Names, locations, the person above Victoria." "I do, but not here." Cross glanced nervously at the road. "There's a place. An old warehouse outside Phoenix. I've got files hidden there. Everything Victoria knows, everything she's done, everyone she's worked with." "How do we know this isn't a trap?" "You don't. But if you want to take down the entire network instead of just one branch, you need what's in that warehouse." Marcus looked at Demon, who had been listening silently from the porch. "What do you think?" Demon shrugged. "I think he's a snake. But snakes sometimes know where the other snakes hide." Marcus turned back to Cross. "If you're lying, I'll kill you myself. If I'm lying, you won't have to." Cross managed a grim smile. "Victoria will do it for you." The warehouse was exactly the kind of place people went to die. Abandoned, rusted, surrounded by nothing but desert and decay. Marcus didn't like it, but he didn't have a choice. They approached carefully, Marcus and Demon in front, Cross between them, Prophet and Tank covering the perimeter. Emma and Lily stayed in the car with Wraith, despite Emma's protests. "If this goes bad, you need to be able to run," Marcus had told her. "And if this goes bad, who's going to save you? Hopefully no one will need saving." He didn't believe it. She didn't either. But she stayed in the car. Cross led them through a side door into the darkness of the warehouse. Dust hung thick in the air. The smell of rust and old blood made Marcus's stomach turn. "Over here." Cross moved toward a back corner where a pile of old crates had been stacked against the wall. He pulled them aside to reveal a floor safe. "Everything's in here. Financial records, buyer lists, location of every facility in the network, the name of the person who controls it all." Cross spun the combination and pulled the safe open. He reached inside and froze. "What?" Marcus stepped closer. "What is it?" Cross pulled out a single piece of paper. His face had gone white. "It's gone. Everything's gone. There's just this." He handed the paper to Marcus. It was a note, written in elegant script. "Dear Raymond, did you really think I wouldn't know? See you soon. V." The warehouse lights snapped on. Marcus spun, gun raised. They were surrounded. 15 men. Armed. Professional. And in the center of them, walking forward with the calm of someone who had never known fear, was a woman in a white suit. Victoria Ashworth. She was smaller than Marcus expected. Delicate, almost. Her silver hair was pulled back in a perfect chignon, and her face was smooth and unlined despite her 60-plus years. But her eyes were the coldest thing Marcus had ever seen. "Mr. Reyes." Her voice was soft, cultured, the voice of wealth and breeding and absolute certainty. "I've been looking forward to meeting you." "Can't say the same?" Victoria smiled. "I understand. You're upset. Your wife? Your daughter? So many surprises in such a short time." She tilted her head, studying him like a scientist examining a specimen. "Catherine was quite remarkable, you know. She lasted longer than most. 15 years of hoping you'd find her. It was almost touching." Marcus's gun hand trembled with the effort of not pulling the trigger. "You're going to pay for what you did to her." "Am I? With what evidence Raymond's little insurance policy?" Victoria laughed. "I've known about that safe for 3 years. I let him think he was clever. It's so much easier to control people who believe they have leverage." She turned to Cross. "Did you really think you could betray me, Raymond, after everything I've done for you?" Cross was shaking. "You're a monster. I'm a businesswoman. There's a difference." Victoria's smile faded. "Though I admit your betrayal has been inconvenient. It's forced me to accelerate my timeline." "What timeline?" Victoria looked at Marcus. "The girl, Emma. She's become a liability, as has her little friend, Lily. They know too much, and they've proven too resourceful to control." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. "You're not touching them." "I'm not going to touch them, Mr. Reyes. You are." She nodded to her men. "Kill Cross, bring me the bikers, and find the girls." Everything happened at once. Cross made a break for the door. 2 shots caught him in the back. He went down hard. Marcus and Demon opened fire, trying to create an escape route. 3 of Victoria's men dropped. The rest scattered for cover. "Go!" Demon shouted, shoving Marcus toward the exit. "Get to the car! Get Emma out of here!" "I'm not leaving you." "You are. That's an order." A bullet caught Demon in the shoulder. He staggered, but didn't fall. "Go!" Marcus ran. He burst out of the warehouse into chaos. Gunfire everywhere. Prophet and Tank were pinned down behind a rusted truck. Wraith was the car. The car was gone. Marcus's heart stopped. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "She's safe, for now. Come to the old mission church on Route 17, alone, or I send her back to Victoria in pieces. R.C. Raymond Cross, still alive. And he had Emma." Marcus stood outside the mission church as the sun began to rise. His body was battered. His shoulder was bleeding from a graze he barely remembered getting. His brothers were scattered, some wounded, some captured, some. He couldn't think about that now. He had to focus. Emma was inside. The church door opened, and Cross limped out. His shirt was soaked with blood, but he was moving, still alive, still breathing. "You're more resilient than I expected," Marcus said flatly. "Bulletproof vest. Victoria taught me never to trust anyone." Cross's laugh turned into a cough. "Including herself." "Where's my daughter?" "Inside, unharmed. Lily too." Cross leaned against the doorframe, his face gray with pain. "I didn't take them to hurt them, Marcus. I took them to save them." "You expect me to believe that?" "I expect you to believe that Victoria Ashworth would have had them both dead within the hour if I hadn't gotten them out." Cross's eyes met his. "I'm a lot of things. A killer, a liar, a coward. But I'm not going to let 2 kids die for Victoria's pride." Why do you care?" Cross was quiet for a moment. "Because Catherine asked me to." Marcus felt the world tilt. "What, when I went to the facility last year?" when I found her dying. Cross's voice dropped to barely a whisper. She knew who I was, what I was there to do. But instead of begging for her life, she begged for her daughter's. She made me promise that if Emma ever got out, I would help her. I would protect her. You promised a dying woman you were sent to kill. I promised a dying woman who forgave me for sins I can never atone for. Cross's composure finally broke. Tears ran down his face. She looked at me, and she said, I know there's good in you. Please, save my daughter. Marcus couldn't speak. I've spent the last year trying to figure out how to keep that promise, Cross continued. Leaking information, creating escape routes, hoping she'd find her way to you. He laughed bitterly. And she did. She found you. Against all odds, she found you. The church door opened again. Emma stepped out, Lily behind her. Marcus! She ran to him. He caught her in his arms and held her tight, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling her heart beating against his chest. I thought I lost you, he whispered. Never. She pulled back and looked at him with Catherine's eyes. You found me. After 20 years, you found me. I'm not going anywhere. Marcus looked over her head at Cross, who was slumping against the wall. He saved us, Emma said quietly. When Victoria's men found the car, he was there. He got us out. Why didn't you call? He said the phones were compromised. He said Victoria has people in the police, the FBI, everywhere. The only safe place was here. Marcus walked toward Cross. You're dying. Probably. Cross managed a weak smile. Vest stopped the first 2 rounds. Third one got under it. I've got maybe an hour, maybe less. I can get you help. Help won't change what I've done. Cross pulled a small USB drive from his pocket. But this might change what Victoria can do. Real files this time, not the decoy she found. I kept the actual evidence somewhere she'd never think to look. Where? Cross pressed the drive into Marcus's hand. On me, right next to my heart. Even Victoria couldn't make herself search there. He coughed blood, flecking his lips. It's all there, Marcus. Every name, every transaction, every child who was stolen, and every monster who bought them. Take it. Use it. Burn her world to the ground. Marcus looked at the drive, at the man dying in front of him, at his daughter alive and safe beside him. I'll make sure this matters, he said quietly. I'll make sure they all pay. Cross nodded weakly. Tell Catherine, if you see her on the other side. He smiled, distant now, fading. Tell her I kept my promise. His eyes closed. He didn't open them again. Emma knelt beside Cross's body as Marcus stood, watched the sunrise, painting everything in shades of gold and blood. He wasn't a good man, she said softly. He did terrible things. Yes. But in the end he tried to make it right. Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. Sometimes that's all any of us can do. His phone buzzed, a text from Demon. Alive, wounded, captured 2 of Victoria's men. Prophet found Blade. He's hurt but breathing. What's the play? Marcus looked at the USB drive in his hand, at his daughter's face, at the body of a man who'd died keeping a promise to a woman he'd been sent to kill. He typed back 3 words. We finish this. The safe house was a cabin in the mountains 2 hours from anywhere Victoria's reach could easily extend. Demon had bought it years ago under a fake name, a place to disappear if things ever went sideways. Things had gone sideways. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, the USB drive in front of him, like a grenade with the pin pulled. Around him, the brothers who'd made it out gathered in various states of injury and exhaustion. Demon's shoulder was wrapped in bandages. Prophet had a gash across his forehead that probably needed stitches. Tank was limping from a bullet that had grazed his thigh. Blade was the worst. They'd found him in a ditch 3 miles from the Ashworth estate, beaten nearly to death, and left for dead. He was unconscious on the couch now, his breathing shallow, his face swollen beyond recognition. "He needs a hospital," Prophet said quietly. "He needs Victoria Ashworth in handcuffs," Demon replied. "That's what he'd want." Marcus looked at his brothers. These men had followed him into hell without question. Some of them might not walk out. "I'm sorry," he said. "I brought this on all of you. If I'd just shut up." Demon's voice was tired, but firm. "You didn't bring anything. You found out your wife was murdered, and your daughter was stolen. What were you supposed to do? Send a polite letter. People are hurt because of me. People are hurt because of Victoria Ashworth. Don't get confused about who the enemy is." Emma appeared in the doorway, Lily close behind her. Both girls looked exhausted, but there was something new in Emma's eyes, something hard and determined. "We need to talk about what's on that drive," she said. Marcus nodded. "Prophet, can you pull up the files?" Prophet took the USB and plugged it into a laptop. The screen filled with folders, hundreds of them, names, dates, bank records, photographs. "Jesus," Prophet breathed. This is everything." "Start with the buyer lists," Marcus said. Prophet opened a folder labeled Transactions 2005 to 2024. The room went silent. Names scrolled across the screen. Politicians, CEOs, celebrities, names that appeared on magazine covers and campaign posters and charity galas. "That's Senator Morrison," Tank said, pointing at one entry. "He just announced he's running for president." "And that's the CEO of Hartwell Industries." Prophet's voice was shaking. "He donated $50 million to children's hospitals last year." Emma stepped closer to the screen. "They bought children. All of these people bought children from Victoria's operation." "Some bought children." Prophet scrolled further. "Some bought other things, silence, loyalty, protection. Victoria was blackmailing them. Looks like it. She'd sell them a baby, then use the transaction as leverage for the rest of their lives." Marcus felt sick. "How many?" Prophet ran a quick count. 473 transactions over 20 years, across 12 states. 473 children, Emma whispered. 473 families who don't know their kids were stolen. Lily spoke for the first time since they'd arrived. "What about the other facilities?" Cross said there were 12. Prophet opened another folder. Locations: Arizona, Nevada, Texas, Florida, California, 8 more across the country. He looked up at Marcus. "This isn't just one operation. It's a network. And according to these files, they all report to someone called the Architect. Who is it?" Prophet scrolled through pages of documents. "I don't. Wait." His face went pale. "Oh my God." "What?" Prophet turned the laptop around so everyone could see. On the screen was a photograph. 2 people shaking hands at what looked like a political fundraiser. One of them was Victoria Ashworth. The other was the sitting Attorney General of the United States. "We can't go to the FBI," Demon said. "If the Attorney General is involved, the whole Justice Department is compromised." "What about state law enforcement?" "Arizona's in Victoria's pocket. We already know that." Marcus paced the small cabin, his mind racing. There has to be someone. Someone clean. Someone who can't be bought. Emma looked up from the laptop where she'd been reading through more files. "There is." Everyone turned to look at her. Cross's files. He kept a list of officials he considered incorruptible. People Victoria tried to bribe but couldn't. Where? Emma pulled up a document. Federal prosecutor in Phoenix. Rebecca Vasquez. Victoria offered her $2 million to bury an investigation 3 years ago. Vasquez reported the bribe and nearly lost her career when Victoria's lawyers came after her. She's still working, demoted to a satellite office, but she's still federal. Emma met Marcus's eyes. And according to Cross, she's been building her own case against Victoria for years. She just never had enough evidence. Marcus looked at the USB drive. She does now. Rebecca Vasquez was not what Marcus expected. She was small, fierce. Her dark hair was streaked with gray, and her eyes had the look of someone who'd been fighting losing battles for too long. But when she saw the USB drive, those eyes lit up with something dangerous. Where did you get this? Does it matter? It matters if I'm going to use it in court. Marcus told her. All of it. Catherine, Emma, the facility, Cross, Victoria, the Attorney General. When he finished, Vasquez was silent for a long moment. You know what you're asking me to do? She finally said. You're asking me to take on the most powerful woman in Arizona and possibly the highest-ranking law enforcement official in the country. I'm asking you to do your job. Vasquez laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. My job? My job nearly got me disbarred 3 years ago. My job got me transferred to a basement office where they send people to be forgotten. She picked up the USB drive, turning it over in her hands. If I pursue this, and it goes wrong, I won't just lose my career. I'll lose my freedom. Maybe my life. And if you don't pursue it, Vasquez looked up. Excuse me. If you don't pursue it, Victoria keeps operating. More children get stolen. More mothers get killed. More families get destroyed. Marcus leaned forward. You became a prosecutor for a reason. I'm guessing it wasn't to sit in a basement office waiting to retire. Vasquez's jaw tightened. You don't know anything about why I became a prosecutor. Then tell me I'm wrong. Silence. Then Vasquez stood up. I had a sister, she said quietly. Maria. She disappeared when she was 19. Police said she ran away. Started a new life somewhere. But I knew Maria. She wouldn't leave without telling me. What happened to her? I spent 15 years trying to find out. I became a prosecutor because I thought it would give me access, resources, answers. Vasquez's voice hardened. 3 years ago, I finally got a lead. A woman who'd escaped from some kind of facility in the desert. She mentioned a name. Victoria Ashworth. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Your sister was... I don't know. I never found out. The witness disappeared before she could testify, and Victoria's lawyers buried everything. Vasquez picked up the USB drive again. But if what's on here proves what you say it proves, if there are records, if there are names... There are names, Emma said softly. Every woman who was brought to the Arizona facility. Every one. Vasquez looked at her. You were there. I was born there. I lived there for 20 years. Vasquez's composure cracked. 20 years. My God. There are others like me. Lily. The children who were sold. The women who are still trapped. Emma stepped forward. We can testify. We can tell the world exactly what Victoria Ashworth did. Vasquez studied her for a long moment. You understand what that means, testifying in open court. Your face on every news channel, Victoria's lawyers tearing your story apart. I understand. They'll call you a liar. They'll dig up everything they can find to discredit you. They'll make your life a living hell. Emma didn't flinch. I've already lived through hell. At least this time I'll be fighting back. Vasquez turned to Marcus. And you're willing to stand with her, even knowing what it might cost. She's my daughter. Marcus's voice was steady. I missed 20 years. I'm not missing another minute. Vasquez took a deep breath. Then she smiled. Okay, let's burn this whole thing down. The arrest of Victoria Ashworth happened 3 weeks later. Vasquez had worked around the clock building a case so airtight that even Victoria's army of lawyers couldn't find a crack. She'd coordinated with federal agents she trusted, keeping the operation secret from the Justice Department until the last possible moment. When the FBI showed up at the Ashworth estate with warrants, it was the lead story on every news channel in the country. Marcus watched the coverage from the cabin, Emma beside him, as Victoria was led out in handcuffs. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. The white suit was wrinkled, her perfect hair coming loose from its chignon. But her eyes were still cold. She doesn't look scared, Emma said quietly. She's not yet. Why not? They have everything. The files, the witnesses. How can she not be scared? Marcus watched Victoria duck into the back of a federal vehicle. Because she still thinks she can buy her way out. She still thinks the Attorney General will protect her. Will he? He's going to try. The Attorney General resigned 2 days later. The files Cross had compiled weren't just about Victoria. They documented years of coordination between her operation and officials at every level of government. Wire transfers, coded messages, photographs that left no room for doubt. By the time the story broke, half of Washington was scrambling for cover. Senator Morrison withdrew from the presidential race. The CEO of Hartwell Industries was arrested at his vacation home in the Bahamas. 3 state governors announced sudden retirements. And in Phoenix, Rebecca Vasquez was promoted to lead the largest human trafficking prosecution in American history. They're calling it Operation Catherine, she told Marcus and Emma during a briefing at the federal courthouse. I hope you don't mind. It seemed fitting. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She would have liked that. She would have been proud of you. Vasquez squeezed Emma's hand. Both of you. Marcus cleared his throat. What happens now? Now we go to trial. Victoria's lawyers are already trying to delay, but I've got judges who are tired of her games. We're looking at a start date in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Emma's voice was small. And I'll have to testify. You'll be our star witness, the woman who was born inside the operation, who lived it, who escaped it. Vasquez paused. Are you sure you're ready for this? Emma looked at Marcus. He nodded. I'm ready, Emma said. Whatever it takes. The trial of Victoria Ashworth began on a Tuesday in October. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled every available seat. Cameras that weren't supposed to be there somehow found their way in anyway. The whole country was watching. Victoria sat at the defense table, flanked by a team of lawyers who billed more per hour than most people made in a year. She looked calm, composed, as if she were attending a particularly boring board meeting instead of fighting for her freedom. Emma sat in the witness room, waiting to be called. Marcus sat beside her, holding her hand. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Vasquez has other witnesses, other evidence. If it's too much, it's not too much. Emma's voice was steady, but her hand trembled in his. I've been silent my whole life. They taught me to be invisible, to never speak unless spoken to accept whatever they did to me because I had no choice. She looked up at him. I have a choice now, and I choose to speak. The door opened. A court officer appeared. Miss Reyes, they're ready for you. Emma stood. Marcus stood with her. "I'll be right there in the front row," he said. "The whole time. If you need to look at someone, look at me." Emma hugged him fiercely. "Thank you," she whispered, "for finding me, for believing me, for being my father. Thank you for being brave enough to let me." Emma pulled back, wiped her eyes, and walked through the door. The courtroom fell silent when Emma took the stand. She looked so small up there, so young. But her voice was clear when she stated her name, and it didn't waver when Vasquez began asking questions. "Miss Reyes, can you describe where you were born?" "I was born in a facility in the Arizona desert. I don't know the exact location. We weren't allowed to know." "And who ran this facility?" "A woman we called the benefactor. I later learned her name was Victoria Ashworth." A murmur ran through the courtroom. Victoria's expression didn't change. "Can you describe the conditions at this facility?" Emma took a breath. There were maybe 30 women at any given time. Some were pregnant. Some were there to service the operation in other ways. We weren't allowed to know our real names or where we came from. We weren't allowed to speak to each other except when working. We weren't allowed to leave, ever. What happened to the pregnant women? They had their babies. Then the babies were taken away. Taken where? Sold. Emma's voice cracked slightly. To wealthy buyers. $300,000 was the standard price. More for boys. More for children with desirable traits. And what happened to the mothers after the babies were sold? Emma was quiet for a moment. Some were kept for more pregnancies. Some were transferred to other facilities. Some? She swallowed hard. Some disappeared. We were told they'd been released. But we knew the truth. We always knew. How did you know? Because we could hear them screaming sometimes, late at night, when they thought we were asleep. The courtroom was dead silent. Victoria's lead lawyer stood up. "Objection, speculation. The witness has no direct knowledge of, I saw the bodies." Emma's voice cut through the objection like a knife. Everyone turned to look at her. "I was 12 years old. I couldn't sleep, so I snuck out of my room to get water. I saw men carrying wrapped bundles out to a truck. One of the bundles wasn't wrapped tightly enough. I saw a woman's face." Emma's tears were flowing now, but her voice stayed strong. "Her name was Patricia. She'd been kind to me. She'd given me extra food when I was sick. And she was dead. They carried her out like garbage." Victoria's lawyer sat down slowly. "No further questions." The testimony lasted 3 days. Emma described everything: the daily routines, the punishments, the isolation, the women who came and went, the children who were born and taken, the supervisors who treated them like livestock, the guards who did worse. She described Catherine. "She was the only one who treated me like a person." Emma said, her voice thick with emotion. "She taught me to read. She told me stories about the outside world. She showed me that there was still good in people even in that terrible place." "Did Catherine tell you anything about her life before the facility?" "She told me she had a husband, a man who rode motorcycles. She said he was the love of her life. She said he would never stop looking for her." Emma looked at Marcus in the front row. "She was right." Vasquez nodded. "Thank you, Miss Reyes. No further questions." Victoria's lawyer stood for cross-examination. He was good, aggressive. He tried to poke holes in Emma's timeline, questioned her memory, suggested that trauma had distorted her recollections. Emma didn't break. Every attack she met head-on. Every trap she sidestepped. 20 years of learning to survive had taught her how to read people, how to anticipate their moves, how to endure. By the end of the third day, even Victoria's composure had started to crack. The verdict came down on a Friday afternoon. Guilty. Guilty on 47 counts of human trafficking. Guilty on 12 counts of murder. Guilty on hundreds of counts of fraud, conspiracy, kidnapping, and racketeering. The sentence, life in prison without the possibility of parole. When the judge read the verdict, Victoria finally broke. She screamed at her lawyers, at the judge, at the prosecutors. She had to be physically restrained as officers moved to take her into custody. "This isn't over," she shouted, her eyes fixed on Emma. "Do you hear me? This isn't over. You think you've won. You haven't won anything. The network is bigger than me, bigger than any of you can imagine." Emma stood up. She walked to the barrier separating the gallery from the court floor. "I know it's not over," she said calmly. "I know there are others out there, other facilities, other children who need help." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that only Victoria could hear. "But you're done. And every day you spend in prison, I'll be out here tearing down everything you built, brick by brick, until there's nothing left." Victoria's face contorted with rage. "You're nothing. You're damaged goods. You were supposed to die in that facility. I was supposed to be free." Emma's voice was steel. "And now I am." She turned and walked away. Victoria's screams echoed behind her until the doors closed. Marcus was waiting outside the courtroom. Emma walked into his arms and finally let herself cry. Not tears of grief this time, tears of release. 20 years of fear and pain and silence finally finding a way out. "It's over," she sobbed. "It's actually over." "The trial's over." Marcus held her tight. "But you heard what she said. There's more out there. Other facilities. Other victims." Emma pulled back and looked at him. "I know. That's why we can't stop. You didn't think I was going to let you fight this alone, did you?" Marcus smiled. It was the first real smile he'd felt in weeks. "Wouldn't dream of it." Lily appeared beside them, her eyes red from crying. "They found records of my birth," she said quietly. "In the files. I know who my parents were now." "Were..." Lily's face crumpled. "They're dead. Both of them. They were killed right after I was born. Victoria didn't want any loose ends." Emma wrapped her arms around Lily. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be. At least I know now. At least I'm not wondering anymore." They stood together in the courthouse hallway, 3 survivors of the same nightmare, holding each other up. That evening, Marcus took Emma somewhere he'd been avoiding for 18 years. Catherine's grave. It was a simple headstone, in a small cemetery on the outskirts of Dusty Ridge. Marcus had chosen the spot himself, in a corner near an old oak tree where the shade fell soft and cool. He hadn't visited since the funeral. He couldn't bear to. "I don't know what to say," Emma whispered, looking at the stone. "I never met her. Not really. I only knew her as a dying woman in a terrible place." "Tell her what you told me." Marcus's voice was rough. "Tell her about the stories she shared, the hope she gave you, the way she never stopped believing." Emma knelt beside the grave. "Hi, Catherine," she said softly. "It's Emma, your daughter. I know you probably can't hear me, but I wanted you to know. We did it. We got her. Victoria's going to prison for the rest of her life because of what you gave me. The strength, the hope, the belief that things could be different." She reached up and unclasped the locket from around her neck. "I've been carrying this since you gave it to me. It got me through the escape. It got me to Marcus. It got me home." She placed the locket on the headstone. "But I think it belongs here now, with you." Marcus knelt beside her. "Catherine," he said, his voice breaking. I'm sorry I didn't find you. I'm sorry I believed the lies. I'm sorry I gave up." He touched the cold stone. "But I found her. Our daughter. She's everything you would have wanted her to be. She's brave and strong and stubborn as hell. Just like you." Emma leaned against him. "She never stopped loving you," Emma said. "Even at the end. Your name was the last word she spoke." Marcus couldn't hold back the tears anymore. They sat together beside Catherine's grave as the sun set, father and daughter finally united after 20 years of lies and loss. Finally home. 1 week later, Marcus stood before a family court judge. The paperwork had been expedited given the circumstances. DNA tests had confirmed what Marcus already knew in his heart. Emma Reyes was his biological daughter, stolen before birth, raised in captivity, finally free. Now, he was making it official. "Mr. Reyes," the judge said, "do you understand the responsibilities you're accepting by legally adopting Emma Reyes?" "I do, Your Honor." "And Miss Reyes, do you consent to this adoption?" Emma's voice was clear. "I do." The judge smiled. "Then by the power vested in me, by the state of Arizona, I hereby declare this adoption final and binding. Emma Reyes, you are now legally the daughter of Marcus Reyes, with all the rights and privileges that entails." She banged her gavel. "Congratulations to you both." Emma threw her arms around Marcus. "It's official," she whispered. "I have a father. A real, legal, official father." "You've always had a father." Marcus held her tight. "You just didn't know it yet." Behind them, the brothers cheered. Demon, Prophet, Tank. Even Blade still recovering but refusing to miss this moment. Lily stood with them, smiling through her tears. Family. Not the kind you're born into. The kind you choose. The kind that chooses you. That night, Vasquez called with news. "We found the other children," she said. "The ones in Cross's files. Sarah Chen in San Diego. The boy in Denver. 8 more across the country." "Are they okay? Some of them don't even know they were stolen. They've been living normal lives with families who think the adoptions were legitimate." Vasquez paused. "It's going to be complicated, deciding how to handle each case. Some of these kids are better off not knowing. And the ones who aren't, we're working with counselors, support groups. It's going to take time." Marcus looked across the room at Emma, who was laughing at something Blade had said. "Thank you. For everything." "Don't thank me yet." Vasquez's voice grew serious. "Victoria was right about one thing. The network is bigger than her. We've shut down the Arizona operation, but there are 11 more out there. And the architect is still in the wind. Do we have any leads? A few. But they're all dead ends so far. Whoever's running this thing knows how to stay hidden." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we keep looking. I made a promise to Catherine, to Emma, to every woman who suffered in that place." Marcus's voice was steel. "I'm not stopping until every last piece of this network is ash." Vasquez was quiet for a moment. "You know, when you first walked into my office, I thought you were just another biker with a grudge. I didn't expect." "Didn't expect what?" "I didn't expect you to care this much. About people you've never met. About children who aren't your own." Marcus looked at Emma again. "A year ago, I was just a man who fixed motorcycles and waited to die. I didn't have anything to live for. I didn't have anyone who needed me." He took a breath. "Now I have a daughter. I have brothers who ride with me. I have a purpose. And that purpose is justice for everyone Victoria hurt, for everyone still trapped, For every child who was stolen and every mother who was killed. Marcus's voice hardened. Victoria Ashworth was just the beginning. I'm going to find every person connected to this network, and I'm going to make them pay. That sounds like a full-time job. Good thing I'm retired from everything else. Vasquez laughed. I'll be in touch, Marcus. Get some rest while you can. The hard part is just beginning. She hung up. Marcus put down the phone and walked over to where Emma was sitting. Who was that Vasquez? They found the other children. Emma's face lit up. That's wonderful. Are they okay? Most of them. It's going to take time to sort everything out. And the network, the other facilities. Marcus sat down beside her. Still out there, still operating. Emma nodded slowly. So we're not done. Not even close. She reached over and squeezed his hand. Good, because I'm not ready to stop fighting. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the strength in her eyes, at the determination in her jaw. Catherine's daughter. His daughter. Neither am I. 1 year changed everything. Marcus stood at the window of the Catherine Reyes Foundation headquarters, watching the sunrise paint the Arizona sky in shades of gold and fire. Behind him, the building hummed with activity, even at this early hour. Phones ringing. Keyboards clicking. Voices murmuring in offices that had once been empty warehouses. A year ago, he'd been a broken man fixing motorcycles in a dusty garage, waiting for death to finally catch up with him. Now he was something else entirely. You're up early? Emma's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She stood in the doorway, 2 cups of coffee in her hands, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked older than 21. Stronger. The hollow cheeks and haunted eyes were gone, replaced by something fierce and alive. Couldn't sleep, Marcus admitted, taking the coffee she offered. Big day. The congressional hearing. That, and the other thing. Emma's face softened. You're nervous about the speech. I'm not nervous. I'm concerned. Concerned that you'll mess up. Concerned that I won't do her justice. Emma set down her coffee and wrapped her arms around him. Even after a year, these moments of easy affection still caught Marcus off guard. 20 years of missing her, and now she hugged him like it was the most natural thing in the world. You'll be fine, she said. Catherine would be proud of what we've built. What you've built. What we've built, Marcus corrected. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Without me, you'd still have Demon and the brothers. Without me, you'd still have Vasquez and the evidence. Without me, without you, I'd have nothing worth fighting for. Emma pulled back and looked at him with Catherine's eyes. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Don't get used to it. She laughed, and the sound filled the empty spaces in Marcus's heart that had been hollow for 2 decades. The congressional hearing was a circus. Camera flashes exploded every few seconds. Reporters shouted questions over each other. Senators in expensive suits shuffled papers and pretended to look important. Marcus sat at the witness table with Vasquez on one side and Emma on the other. Behind them, filling the gallery to capacity, were the faces of the people whose lives had been destroyed by the trafficking network. Survivors. Family members. Advocates who'd been fighting this battle long before Marcus ever knew it existed. Mr. Reyes, Senator Williams, the committee chair, leaned into his microphone. Your organization has been credited with dismantling trafficking operations in 7 states over the past 12 months. Can you explain how a former motorcycle club president became the leading figure in the fight against human trafficking? Marcus cleared his throat. Senator, a year ago, I didn't know this world existed. I thought my wife died in a car accident 18 years ago. I thought I'd never have children. I was wrong about all of it. He paused, feeling Emma's hand squeeze his under the table. My wife was kidnapped and held prisoner for 15 years. My daughter was born in captivity and spent 20 years as a slave. When I found out the truth, I had a choice. I could walk away and pretend it wasn't my problem, or I could fight. And you chose to fight. I chose to burn down every piece of the system that stole my family. And in the process, I found out there were thousands of other families who'd suffered the same way. Thousands of children who'd been stolen. Thousands of women who'd been murdered. Marcus looked directly into the cameras. This isn't just my fight anymore. It's everyone's fight. And it's not over. Not by a long shot. Senator Williams nodded slowly. Your foundation has requested federal funding to expand operations. Can you tell us what that funding would accomplish? Emma leaned forward. May I, Senator? Williams gestured for her to proceed. In the past year, we've rescued 147 trafficking victims, Emma said. We've helped prosecute 63 perpetrators. We've shut down operations in Arizona, Nevada, Texas, and Florida. But for every operation, we close 3 more spring up somewhere else. She pulled out a folder of documents. The network Victoria Ashworth belonged to is still operating. We've identified facilities in 8 more states. We've found evidence linking high-ranking officials in at least 4 foreign governments. This isn't a domestic problem anymore. It's international. And the funding would help you address that. The funding would let us hire more investigators, train more rescue teams, support more survivors. Emma's voice hardened. Right now we're fighting a war with a handful of volunteers and donated equipment. Give us real resources and we can actually win! The gallery erupted in applause. Senator Williams banged his gavel. Order! Order, please. But he was smiling. The vote came down 3 weeks later. Unanimous approval. The Catherine Reyes Foundation would receive full federal funding as an official partner in the fight against human trafficking. Resources. Authority. Access to intelligence that had previously been restricted to government agencies. Marcus got the call while he was at the garage, doing the one thing that still helped him think clearly. Working on a bike. Getting his hands dirty. Feeling the solid reality of metal and oil. We did it, Vasquez's voice crackled through the phone. The bill passed, every single senator. Marcus set down his wrench. Every single one. Turns out it's hard to vote against rescuing children from slavery. Even the ones in Victoria's pocket couldn't afford to be seen opposing it. When does the funding start? 60 days. You'll have a budget of $12 million annually with options for expansion based on results. $12 million. A year ago, Marcus had been scraping by on repair jobs and prayer. Thank you, Rebecca, for believing in us, for not giving up. Don't thank me. Vasquez's voice softened. Thank your daughter. Her testimony at that hearing is what swayed them. She made it personal. She made it impossible to look away. Marcus glanced toward the foundation building where Emma was probably buried in paperwork and planning. She has her mother's gift for words. She has her father's gift for not taking no for an answer. Marcus laughed. I'll tell her the news. Tell her something else, too. Vasquez paused. Tell her the FBI found another facility. Colorado. Based on intelligence she helped develop. 14 women rescued this morning. All of them alive. Marcus's throat tightened. 14. 14. Because your daughter refused to stop digging until she found the connection. Marcus couldn't speak. Go tell her, Marcus. She earned it. The line went dead. Marcus put down the phone, wiped his hands on a rag, and walked toward the future he'd never imagined. Emma was in her office when he found her. Not really an office. More like a converted storage room filled with filing cabinets and computer equipment. But she'd made it hers. Photos on the walls. A small plant on the desk. The locket, Catherine's locket, hanging from a hook where she could see it every day. "You heard?" she asked without looking up. "Vasquez called. 12 million. Emma finally looked at him, and her eyes were shining. "Do you know what we can do with 12 million? Build a real headquarters, hire actual staff, stop running on fumes and hope." "More than that." Emma stood up and grabbed a map from her desk. It was covered in pins and markers, a web of connections spreading across the country. "I've been tracking the network, the facilities we know about, the ones we suspect, the people who might be involved." She pointed to a cluster of pins in the Midwest. "There's a pattern. Every major trafficking hub is within 50 miles of a private airfield. They're moving people by air, not commercial flights, private charters. Can we prove it? Not yet, but with real funding, with real investigators." Emma's voice rose with excitement. "We can track the flights, cross-reference passenger manifests, build cases that actually stick." Marcus looked at his daughter, at the fire in her eyes, at the maps and charts and evidence of a mind that never stopped working. "You should be in college," he said quietly. Emma's face fell. "What? You're 21 years old. You spent 20 years locked away from the world. You should be experiencing life, not hunting criminals. Is this you telling me to stop? No." Marcus shook his head. "This is me telling you that you can do both. The foundation will still be here. The fight will still be here. But you deserve more than just this." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "I enrolled," she finally said. 2 weeks ago, community college, part-time so I can still work here. Social work program." Marcus blinked. "You did. Lily convinced me." Emma smiled slightly. She said Catherine would have wanted me to have a real education, to have options, to build a life beyond just surviving. She's right. I know. Emma looked at the map on her wall. But I'm not giving this up. I can't. Every day I spend in class, I think about the women who are still trapped, the children who are still being sold. I can't just forget them. "No one's asking you to forget." Marcus crossed to her and put his hands on her shoulders. "But you can't save everyone if you burn yourself out. You've already given more than anyone could ask." "It's not enough. It never feels like enough. That's how you know you're doing it right." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to be normal." "Neither do I." Marcus smiled. "We'll figure it out together." The call came at midnight. Marcus was asleep for the first time in days when his phone buzzed with Vasquez's number. "We found him." Marcus was instantly awake. "Found who?" "The architect, the person running the entire network. We finally have a name." Marcus's heart pounded. "Who is it?" Vasquez was silent for a long moment. "Senator Williams." The world tilted. Williams. The committee chair. The man who just approved our funding. The same. Cross's files had encrypted data we couldn't access before. A forensic specialist finally cracked it last night. Williams has been overseeing the network for 30 years, since before Victoria Ashworth was even involved. Marcus felt sick. He sat there during the hearing. He listened to Emma's testimony. He voted to fund us. And the whole time he was deciding how to use his position to protect himself. Our funding comes with oversight requirements. Guess who chairs the oversight committee? Williams. He's been playing us from the beginning, letting us take down the small operations while protecting the core of the network, using our success to build his own reputation as a crusader. Marcus's hands curled into fists. What do we do? We have evidence, but it's circumstantial. The encrypted files prove connection, not control. If we move too fast, he'll bury us. He has enough allies in the Justice Department to make this whole thing disappear. So we do nothing. We do exactly what we've been doing. We build cases. We gather evidence. We wait for him to make a mistake. Vasquez's voice hardened. And when he does, we destroy him. Marcus looked at the phone, at the darkness outside his window, at the long road still ahead. Send me everything you have. I'll talk to Emma in the morning. Marcus, be careful. Williams isn't Victoria. He's smarter, more connected, more dangerous. If he finds out we know, then we make sure he doesn't find out. Not until we're ready. So Marcus hung up. Sleep was impossible now. He sat in the darkness, planning the next phase of a war that seemed to have no end. Emma took the news better than Marcus expected. Williams, she said, her voice flat. Of course, it's always the ones who seem the cleanest. You're not surprised. I'm not surprised anymore by anything. Emma pulled up the files Vasquez had sent. Look at this. The network didn't start with trafficking. It started with political favors, connecting powerful people with things they couldn't get legally. It evolved into trafficking because that's where the money was. 30 years. 30 years of stolen children, murdered women, destroyed families, all so one man could build power. Marcus watched his daughter's face harden. We can't move on him yet, he said. Not enough evidence. Then we get more evidence. Emma's jaw set with determination. There have to be other people who know. Former associates, disgruntled employees, survivors who can identify him. We'll find them. We'll do more than find them. Emma looked up at him. I want to testify again, publicly. Not about Victoria this time. About the network. About how deep it goes. About Williams specifically. That's dangerous. Everything we do is dangerous. This is different. Victoria was in prison when you testified against her. Williams is a sitting senator with access to resources we can't even imagine. I don't care. Emma stood up, her whole body vibrating with intensity. I spent 20 years being afraid. I spent 20 years being silent because speaking up meant punishment. I'm not that person anymore. I refuse to be. Marcus looked at his daughter, at Catherine's eyes, at his own stubborn jaw. Okay, he said. We do it together. The press conference was Emma's idea. Not a congressional hearing. Not a courtroom. A public statement broadcast live where she could speak directly to the American people. The Foundation's headquarters was transformed into a media center. Cameras from every major network, reporters from a dozen countries, an audience of millions watching online. Emma stood at the podium wearing a simple blue dress that Lily had helped her pick out. Her hands were steady. Her voice was clear. A year ago, I was nobody. Less than nobody. I was a ghost. A person who officially didn't exist, trapped in a system designed to erase everything that made me human. She paused, letting the words sink in. Today, I'm standing in front of you because people believed me when I had no reason to believe in myself. My father, my friends, the investigators who fought for justice when everyone told them to give up. Marcus watched from the front row, his heart swelling with pride. Victoria Ashworth is in prison. That's a victory. But it's not the end. The network that stole my life is still operating. Children are still being sold. Women are still being killed. And the people responsible are still walking free. Emma looked directly into the cameras. I'm not going to name names today. The investigation is ongoing and I won't jeopardize the people working to bring these criminals to justice. But I want everyone watching to understand something." Her voice dropped. "The people running this network aren't monsters hiding in shadows. They're your neighbors, your bosses, your elected officials. They smile for cameras and donate to charities and shake hands at fundraisers. And behind closed doors, they buy and sell human beings like livestock." The room was utterly silent. "I escaped. I was lucky. But there are thousands more who weren't. Thousands who are still trapped right now, waiting for someone to find them, waiting for someone to care." Emma's eyes glistened. "I'm asking you to care? I'm asking you to look at the world around you and refuse to accept that this is just how things are. I'm asking you to demand better from the people who represent you, who lead you, who claim to serve you." She gripped the podium. "My mother died in a trafficking facility. She never got to see her daughter grow up. She never got to see justice served. But she never stopped believing that things could change. She never stopped hoping." Emma's voice cracked. "I'm here today because of her hope, because of her courage, because even in the darkest place imaginable, she refused to let them take her humanity." She looked at Marcus. "And I'm staying in this fight because that's what she would have wanted. Not just for me, for everyone. For every stolen child, and every murdered mother, and every family torn apart by greed and cruelty." Emma straightened. "My name is Emma Reyes. I am a survivor, and I will not rest until every person responsible for this horror faces justice." The applause started slow. Then it built and built until the entire room was on its feet, roaring. The video went viral within hours. 10 million views by midnight. 20 million by morning. Emma's face was on every news channel, her words quoted in headlines around the world. The foundation's phone lines were overwhelmed. Donations poured in from strangers who'd been moved by her story. Survivors reached out from places no one had known to look. Investigators received tips that broke open cases that had been cold for years. And in Washington, Senator Williams quietly canceled his public appearances and retreated behind closed doors. Marcus found Emma on the roof of the foundation building at sunset, watching the sky turn colors. "You did something incredible today," he said. "I did something necessary." Emma didn't look at him. "It's not enough. It's never enough." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" She finally turned to face him. "How many people are still trapped right now while we stand here watching the sunset? How many children are being sold while I give speeches and accept donations?" Marcus sat down beside her. "When I was young," he said slowly, "I thought I could fix the world through force. I rode with the club, I fought anyone who got in my way. I believed that strength was the answer to everything. What changed? I met your mother." Marcus smiled at the memory. "She told me that real strength wasn't about fighting. It was about building, creating something better instead of just tearing down what was broken." Is that what we're doing? Building something better? I think so. One person at a time, one rescue at a time, one day at a time. Emma leaned against him. "I'm tired, Marcus. I'm so tired." "I know. But I can't stop. Neither can I." He put his arm around her. "That's why we have each other. So when one of us is tired, the other one can keep going." They sat in silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. "I have something for you," Marcus said finally. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Emma frowned. "What is this? Open it." She did. Inside was a silver locket. New. Polished. Identical in design to Catherine's, but with different initials engraved on the back. ER and MR, Emma and Marcus. "I can't replace what you lost," Marcus said quietly. Catherine's locket belongs with her. But I wanted you to have something that's ours. Something that represents what we've built together. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Marcus, I missed 20 years of your life. I'll never get those back. But I can promise you this. He took her hand. Every day I have left, I'm going to spend making sure you know how much you matter. How much you've always mattered. Emma threw her arms around him. I love you, Dad. It was the first time she'd called him that. Marcus held her tight, tears streaming down his weathered face. I love you too, sweetheart. More than I ever knew I could love anything. 6 months later, the Ironheart MC completed its transformation. What had once been an outlaw motorcycle club was now the Foundation's primary protection and transport unit. Brothers who'd spent decades running from the law were now working with it, providing security for rescued trafficking victims, transporting survivors to safe houses, standing guard at shelters that served the most vulnerable. Demon had embraced the change more fully than anyone. We spent years pretending we were outlaws fighting against the system, he told Marcus one morning. Turns out we were just looking for the right system to fight for. Blade, fully recovered from his injuries, had taken charge of training new volunteers. Prophet ran intelligence operations from a command center that would have made the FBI jealous. Tank had discovered a gift for working with traumatized children, his massive frame somehow becoming a source of comfort rather than fear. And Lily had found her calling. She'd started as a volunteer at the Foundation's shelter, then earned her GED, then enrolled in nursing school. Now she worked alongside professional counselors, helping survivors process trauma that she understood better than anyone. You saved my life, she told Emma one afternoon. You and Marcus, I don't know how I'll ever repay that. You repay it by being here, Emma replied. By helping the next person who needs saving. That's how it works. We help each other, and the chain keeps going. The final breakthrough came on a Thursday. Vasquez called with news that made Marcus's heart stop. We got him. Williams. One of his former associates flipped. We have testimony documents, financial records. Enough to take him down. When? The arrest is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Federal agents not local. People I trust. Marcus closed his eyes. It's really over, Ma. This phase is over. Williams was the head, but there are still pieces scattered everywhere. It's going to take years to clean it all up. But the network, the core of it, finished. Williams was the glue holding everything together. Without him, the remaining operations will fragment. They'll be easier to pick off one by one. Marcus let out a breath he'd been holding for a year. Thank you, Rebecca, for everything. Thank yourself, and thank that daughter of yours. None of this would have happened without her testimony, her research, her refusal to give up. Marcus looked across the room at Emma, who was working at her desk, unaware of the call. I'll tell her. You do that. And Marcus, take some time. Both of you. You've earned it. The line went dead. Marcus walked over to Emma and put his hand on her shoulder. What? She looked up, instantly alert. What happened? They got Williams. It's over. Emma stared at him. Over. The arrest is tomorrow. Vasquez says the network is finished. The head is cut off. Emma's face went through a dozen emotions. Shock, disbelief, hope, fear, relief. Then she started to cry. Marcus knelt beside her and held her as she sobbed. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. You did it. Your testimony, your research, your courage. We did it together. Emma pulled back and looked at him with red eyes. Catherine did it. Cross did it. All the survivors who were brave enough to speak. Everyone who believed when believing seemed impossible. Marcus smiled. Your mother would be so proud of you. She'd be proud of us. The next morning, Marcus woke Emma before dawn. Get dressed, he said. I want to show you something. She followed him to the garage, still half asleep, and found 2 motorcycles waiting. His old Harley. And beside it, a new one. Smaller, custom-built, with Catherine's favorite color painted on the tank. You've been taking lessons with Blade for 6 months, Marcus said. Time to put them to use. Emma's eyes went wide. You're serious? Your mother always wanted to learn to ride. She never got the chance. Marcus handed her a helmet. I figured her daughter should. Emma took the helmet with trembling hands. Where are we going? Wherever the road takes us. They rode out of Dusty Ridge as the sun crested the mountains. Marcus in front, Emma behind the desert, stretching endless around them. Wind and freedom and the open road. They stopped at an overlook where the whole valley spread out below them. Emma pulled off her helmet and breathed in the morning air. This is what she talked about, she said softly. Catherine. She described this feeling. The wind, the freedom, the sense that anything was possible. She loved riding. Marcus's voice was thick. She said it was the only time she felt completely free. I understand now. They stood together in silence, watching the sun climb higher. What happens next? Emma finally asked. Marcus looked at the road stretching out ahead of them. We keep going. We help who we can. We fight what we can fight. We build something better. And the network, the pieces that are left. We hunt them down, one by one, until there's nothing left. Emma nodded. Together, always. She put her helmet back on and climbed onto her bike. Race you to the state line? Marcus laughed. You think you can beat me? Only one way to find out. She gunned the engine and took off. Marcus watched her go for a moment. His daughter. His blood. His second chance at everything he'd thought was lost forever. Then he kicked his own bike to life and followed her into the sunrise. The Catherine Reyes Foundation would continue to grow. More survivors would be rescued. More criminals would face justice. The fight would go on as it always did, as it always would. But for this one morning, there was just a father and daughter on an open road riding toward a future neither of them had ever dared to imagine. 20 years of darkness had ended. The light was just beginning. And Marcus Reyes Ghost, father fighter, finally understood what Catherine had known all along. Hope wasn't something you waited for. It was something you built one choice at a time, one person at a time, one day at a time. And it was worth fighting for. Always.